London News, Melbourne. A day to remember that will go down in infancy, as somebody once said. The 20th or the 21st here of January 2021. We're going to cross to Bill Turner. It's great to have Bill back. Fantastic. Great to see him. He has great information for us all. And of course, our dear friend David Michael in Pennsylvania. We have a bit of a discussion up to date about a few things. Have a look at it, and I hope you find it interesting. Anyway, London News here in Melbourne, and we're going across to our good friend and Bill Turner, which has been lying very low for quite a while. It's great to see you back, Bill, and of course David up the top in Pennsylvania is a fan of Bill Turner's for like myself for a long, long time. So welcome, gentlemen, to London News in Melbourne.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
Bill, you've got something to say about the current little bit of a farcical election that may have taken place in the United States. What's your views on that today, Bill?
Well, first of all, Barry, I haven't been lying low. I've been very busy. I've just finished a 2-day seminar down in Dunedin, so I've been working away over here doing different things, and just haven't had the time to do YouTubes. But thank you for inviting me on onto your show today. And look, there's a lot of concerned people at the moment about what's happened in America, but I watch it through very different eyes, as you realise, Barry. And what I noticed was that Biden would not move anywhere until the military showed him where to go. The military ordered him forward, backwards, sideways, and pointed to the floor where he was to stand, which the commander-in-chief is the president of the United States. So he gives the orders, not the military. Okay, the second thing I noticed was that he went halfway down the stairs and got directed to stop by the military. And then the military parade came past. 3 or 4 different bands came marching past. Now, I've never, ever in my life seen a military parade out of step. They were out of step. The lines were all over the place, which was showing their contempt for the man standing up doing this. The next thing that I saw was they went to Arlington National Cemetery. They gave a 20-gun salute, not a 21-gun salute, another dishonour. The next thing I noticed was that they stopped the car on the street outside the White House and made them walk down, up the street a little bit, through the gates, and walk up to the White House. Normally, they're driven right up to the White House. The other thing I noticed was that all former presidents have always handed over the reins to the incoming president. Trump wasn't there, so he can't have been inaugurated. The other thing I noticed was that the gold flags have returned. Trump took them away when the United States company was dissolved on June the 5th, 2019. So it looked like a big farce to me. They were playing out a dog and pony show, just to put people's minds at rest.
David, you're in Pennsylvania, and it's 20 to 8 at night. So you obviously, like myself, wouldn't watch that ceremony because we knew it was fake. Bill, thank God, did, and he's proved to me that it was a fake ceremony. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but now that William has said that, I'm going to go back and watch it just so I can see those few things that happen, which I'm sure it's pretty comical. But yeah, apparently the military didn't give him any respect. They just acted like his tour guide and told him where to go, it sounds like. So he's just like a visitor, not going to be there too long. And you got the Insurrection Act that was signed, but it's still a classified document, not released to the public yet a few days ago. So the military is in power, which basically renders Biden useless.
Well, all things are fast, and so all you people out there who snigger at Donald Trump, look forward to him coming back, because if he doesn't come back, the sniggering will be on our side. We'll be doing a lot of, as I think Jesus said, I'm not a religious man, but he said there will be a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, there's no way that anybody with any kind of intellect at all, with an election that was won by a man with the majority of the American people and the world backing him, would allow this corruption to go on. They had to let it go the full length to get it into this guy is already thinks he's got the keys to the White House, and to allow that to go ahead would be just criminal and insanity in its best. David's there's IDs, which I have the address on the back of this. It'll be on this one as well. He's doing IDs there. He got it up there for the United States, and Bill, over you guys are doing them over there in Monica's doing them in New Zealand, and but I think the importance of an ID at the moment is with the vaccinations coming in, you've got to, when you're asked for an identification, what do? You produce your driving license, your passport, and it's theirs. You have to have your own independent identification, which removes the family name from the fiction. So what's your take on that one, Bill? Because you really started all this off some time ago.
Yeah, look, if you produce one of their ID cards, like a driver's license or something, it shows that you are a member of their society, which is the Law Society. They don't tell you that the Law Society runs the place, but if you're part of their society, then you must abide by their rules. And so the moment you step out and use your own IDs and different things like that, then they have no authority over you.
So, David, you've been doing IDs over there in the States. So, is a lot of people waking up to the fact that the driving license is no longer one they should use if they want to remain independent from the system?
Yeah, they learn about their birth certificates and stuff, and then they realize, wait a minute, the identification has this name on it, and but yeah, a lot of people are waking up to that fact and contacting me and asking me for information. And people don't realize there's a three-way split title done on the birth certificates when they're created. And I've explained on your show before, who owns the different versions of the names. Because when it comes down to it, it's the state that owns the surname itself, or if it's the first name and the surname put together, the state is the primary agents of that name. You are only the authorized representative agent. The first, middle, and last name, whether the middle is middle initial or the middle name spelled out, is owned by our Social Security Administration in Woodlawn, Maryland. And again, we are only the authorized representative agent of that name. And then the first, the middle name, not written as a given name, like it'll say they're both in all caps without a hyphen or anything, that's owned by the Department of Vital Statistics, which I guess over there would be births, deaths, and marriages or something, possibly. So those are the three primary agents and the owners of the names. None of them, they don't belong to you, but they're allowing you to use them. And all you have to do is just cease to be that authorized representative user. Don't use it. You need to use the given name that you were given, period.
Yeah, it's just like anybody doesn't believe it. Just one time we used to own our car, if you got a ticket to the owner, then they don't even bother putting that on because you're nothing more than the registered keeper. So, Bill, you're the expert, and we all learned from you, and I definitely have. And about 7 years ago, I started. What's your advice to people who get an invitation to do business in one of their dry docks and how to handle it, Bill? You're an expert at this, so go for it.
Just David, I just wonder, do your licenses have two photos on them?
If I had one, no, it wouldn't have it. They only had one photo, I think.
It only has one photo. Ours is so blatant. They separate the surname and the given names, so they're on different lines, and then they have a photo of the living, and then an opaque photo of the deceased estate. So they don't hide any. It's the same on our passports. They have the two photos, and they show the separation. But
people that are asleep don't click to them like they really did.
Now, what I've said in the past, is don't go to court. And the reason I say don't go to court, because you won't win in court. But if you put the correct paperwork in, then the invitation that you get to appear, they will normally go away. But sometimes they get a bit vicious, and they will come and arrest you and take you into court. Now, if they should do that, now it does happen. And one of the ladies up in Brisbane rang me once, Barry. You remember this, I think. She got told by the judge, get out of my court and get yourself a lawyer before you come back in. So she rang me, and I said, look, just go back in there and ask the prosecutor if he is an agent for the Crown. Again, that'll be different in America, but because they're masquerading as the Crown down here, but they're only agents for the Crown. And of course, the prosecutor must say, yes, I'm an agent of the Crown. And we've done it here many times. The judge throws you out of court before you can do anything. But if you remember the rules of, excuse me, if you remember the rules of contract, Barry, it's a matter of not arguing, never argue, never agree, and never go silent. So when you're responding to an invitation, a lot of people have the mistaken thought, that's not me, that's not my name, and rah, 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 rah. It's way better to ask questions. Okay, now, there's something that the judges absolutely hate you doing, and that's taking a mirror into court. If you take a mirror into court and breathe on it, the judge will absolutely freak. Okay, so you take the mirror into the court and say to the judge, could you ask the prosecutor to put this in front of the defendant and have him breathe on it? And of course, the paper can't do it. Now, I had a very smart prosecutor once, and I said to the judge, I'd like the prosecutor to point out the defendant. So he picks up a piece of paper off the desk, and he puts his fingers like, that's him over there. That's him over there. It was on the paper. He was pointing to the paper. So there's many different ways around without arguing, without going silent, and without agreeing to it. And it's a matter of having losing that fear that they are above us. They're not above us. And once you actually break that veneer down, that's when they panic. The other thing that you should always add to that, Barry, is under your full commercial liability, because they have a bond. They have a bond for their public duties, but if they've been warned, and you're telling them in their private capacity, you say under your full commercial liability, then they don't have the bond to protect them. That's when they get concerned. Yeah.
Bill, have you got any more information on the courts? We've covered a little bit of stuff there because there's a lot of people out there just want a little bit more. And of course, like emails, there's each email creates 100 emails. What else have you got to add there, Bill?
Okay, well, I really like the work that you're doing over there with the courts there, and also what Steve is doing down here in Dunedin. And it's great because now the people are starting to wake up to the fact that these courts have no authority over the living man. They only have authority over a trust. Now, I mean, you'll often hear Trump talking about under my administration. Well, what are they administering? They're administering those trusts on our behalf. They set the trusts up and they have to make money for those trusts. So the way they do it is they send commissioned officers out there to make money for the trust. But what they do is try to get us to answer as trustee for that trust. And so the moment you go into court, what happens is that you answer to the name. Immediately they order a birth certificate and that birth certificate goes out as a 90-day bond. So you're going to be the trustee for that. So you're going to have to pay the price, but you can flip the roles by understanding the agent principal relationship, which is that if they're coming in as agents of the Crown, then you must be the principal. Okay, so if you're the principal, your rights are way higher than theirs. The same thing with your court. When you set up your court, it doesn't matter whether you do it as a group like you're doing it. I do it by myself, the Court of William Henry. You can have a tennis court if you want to, but the most important thing is in understanding that you have the right to do exactly what they're doing. They don't have the right to come after you. They're only administering a trust. And so to administer that trust, they need a trustee. Never accept the role of trustee. You want to be the principal.
That's interesting, because that's if you when you enter these fictional courts, these positions have been taken. I think the judge probably is the trustee and the prosecutor is anyway. So if you actually make that claim straight away, there's one vacant position. I am the beneficiary. I think that would upset them before you go. David, do you want to say?
Yeah, what a lot of people don't realize is when they get of age and be the age of the majority, they're supposed to open their office of the UBO, the ultimate beneficial owner. And the only way you can communicate with the corporation is through your office. The living cannot communicate with the dead, with the corporations. So you're supposed to open your office and communicate everything through your office. Now, another thing I learned recently was you're supposed to also, here in the United States, have communicate from, since you are an elector, okay, of all the politicians in office, okay, you're supposed to, that makes you a public officer and an elector, and you're supposed to have your office, you're communicating from the office of the republic. Okay, not as only people can elect people for office. Persons can't really elect people for office, only people can. So that's the latest identification thing I also recently made up, was saying that, is with my office of the republic on there. So if I can communicate from this office or from the office of the UBO, the ultimate beneficial owner. And that's what's on my identifications now. Because you cannot, you have to communicate to these people coming against you from your office. Okay, just doing a living man or woman, they may, they're still going to try and come at you with different stuff, most likely. Eventually they normally give up unless it's something real serious, but it really should be from your office, and then they realize that you may know a little something, and then they go away, like William says.
Yeah, Bill, you may, if David moves his head there, you'll see he's got the common law court in the background. So David is setting up in Pennsylvania with the International Common Law Court here with us. And the good news, anybody there listening, we'll have our first cases next month. There'll be only a couple of small ones, and we have a couple of big ones coming up as well. And we're setting up. So it's all happening. It's just hang in there. It's going to happen. And when it happens, it'll be 100% above board, and there will be no flaws in it. The people are now going to start bringing charges against these criminals, because politicians are criminals, and they can say that without any hesitation, because they're treasonous. They're all members of corporations. And Bill is raring to say something. Go for it, Bill.
Look, I don't see it that way, because what they're doing, they're dealing with a deceased estate, plain and simple. So as long as they see it as a deceased estate, but it's the minions they send after you that is the problem. They're too thick. They don't know. Okay, so yeah, there's a bit of a difference. The important thing is that no one knows their status, and it's the status that determines whether you can be seen or heard. Okay, so if you have no standing in a court because you haven't corrected your status, then you won't be seen or heard. So there's lots of little tricks that they pull on us, but I always, what you're doing is correct. If they send you paperwork, send them paperwork back, which is, hey, if you wish to try and make me a trustee of this trust, I will take you in your private capacity under your full commercial liability. And that way, because they're the ones who are always issuing threats to get us to go, oh, you're going to get arrested. That's a threat. And so once you start pointing these things out, you've threatened me with arrest if I don't come and attend your dog and pony show. Well, here's what's going to happen, buddy. Under your own full commercial liability, if you proceed, be prepared.
The court system, which Bill talks about a lot, and it was a good system when they had two magistrates, and they had, because no one man, it says clearly in the Bible, no one man can judge another man because all men have prejudice. So that's why they had three. But now they've gone back to the Star Chamber and they've gone back to the kangaroo courts, and they eliminate juries because they're all dealing with corporations. They're not dealing with men and women, and that they are corporations themselves and owned by corporations and controlled by very large ones. And we've seen the largest corporation in the world has shut the whole world down on the premises of the 1918 Spanish flu, which started in Texas on a farm with a young kid. He ended up on the ship going over to Europe, and he spread the influenza to the ship. The ship docked, took troops back, took people over and back, and that influenza spread throughout the world very quickly, and people died from the consequences of influenza, which it's common sense. You get pneumonia, you don't look after, you get bronchitis, you don't look after it, you end up with pericarditis, if you don't look after, you're going to get pneumonia. If you don't get it in the beginning, you're going to die. In those days, there was no antibiotics, and people died. So these criminals at the moment come along with this wonderful idea: we'll spread this rumor around that this virus is going to kill them all, and people believed it, and being brainwashed and drinking fluoride for the last 30 years, it wasn't hard. So that's why we have a situation which Bill described earlier on as rather a pantomime, with the army dancing left, right, and center rather than marching. So have you got any more to add on that one, Bill?
Yeah, it was definitely a pandemic, and it wasn't just to take Trump down; it was to take the whole world down, because they wanted the reset, but they needed Biden to get in there to get their plan, which was Agenda 21, but they had to take it out to Agenda 30 because Trump came along and stuffed their plans up. So then they got back at him with the pandemic. But I think anyone who's half sane knows that you can't catch a virus. It's the body's defense mechanism. When your body is too full of mucus, a thing called a virus slows you down and says, go to bed and let me take care of this. And it slowly gets all the poisons and that out of your body. But it's only through rest and water that you will get rid of it. So, yeah.
And it's amazing. You know, I've worked in the hospital situation, right? I was a qualified nurse. Worked in theatres and stuff, and I'm a doctor of osteopathic medicine. I'm not a medical doctor, but I've been in that business along with law enforcement. I'm 75 years old, and I always find you get more advice from people who do not even have a first aid certificate. They're the experts, and people have been brainwashed to the extent. And I think, David, you were saying something about the bottled water in the USA has fluoride added to it. Is that true?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even the gallons of distilled water that people give babies they even added fluoride into that, and it's supposed to be distilled water.
Yeah, and anybody doesn't know about fluoride. Well, the poor old Jewish guys, I often, as a kid, you know, when you're young, you say, you watch these videos where people were sent to the gas chambers. You said, why don't these people just run away and fight? And some of them did in that ghetto, and they kept the Germans at bay for a month or something. But when you're on Prozac, if you're taking antidepressants, your mindset's completely different. You don't really have that capacity to think properly, and it's sad. And that's exactly what these people have been drinking tap water for a long time now. And you're wasting your time giving them information because they just ignore it. They don't want to learn it. They won't watch it. They ignore it.
It's also the number one cancer causing chemical.
Yeah. It's a free
and it affects your God gene.
Bill, you had something. Bill, you had something to say about the beneficiary. I mentioned it, and you've got something to come back on that one. What's the story on that one?
Well, we do have a beneficial interest in the trust, and this is where people do get it wrong, because they've made certain words derogatory. So beneficiary, they say, oh, beneficiaries, they're bludgeoning off the government and all this sort of thing. Well, beneficiaries, we do have that beneficial interest, but what we don't realize is that all the agencies we deal with now, the company that runs interference between you and the trust, over here it's called WINS. I don't know what it's called over there, but we go to WINS and apply for a pension. You would go to the same thing, wouldn't you? There will be a place that issues you a check every week or every month or whatever. Okay, so you haven't understood their role, have you? They're an agent for the Crown, so they come in as agents for you, and as long as you accept the role of beneficiary, then they will only give you a portion of what you're entitled to, and they will take a commission. Every time you get paid, they take a commission off that. So the moment you step up as principal and go in there as principal, then you will get your full beneficial entitlement. Look, every agency that you deal with is coming in as an agent for that trust. Okay, now if you go back to the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, they were commissioned officers. There was commissioned officers and there was pirates. They're all the same thing. But the commissioned officers are allowed to access our trusts on our behalf as a beneficiary. But the moment we change that role to the principal, everything changes. Now, we did find in the legislation, I can't find it again, but one of the boys, Nelson, found that we were entitled to $225,000 a year. That's how much the trust makes every year.
So I'd like to thank David over in Pennsylvania, 10 past 8 at night, and to Bill Turner in New Zealand, which is it's a quarter past 2 in the afternoon. They're ahead of us, of course, here in Australia, mate. I mean, but only in thought and deed. Anyway, thanks everybody for coming. London News signing off. Catch you all again. So, see you guys.
Thank you.
Well, that was an interesting little chat we had with Bill and David. Great to see Bill, as I said before, back again. Bill's been very busy in New Zealand and always is, and he never rests. And like myself, he cannot answer emails, and I cannot give anybody his email address because 3 emails will end up being 20 emails because it just goes on. It's a snowball, and I'm sorry I can't do it myself. Anyway, London News sign off. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. Catch you all again soon. Bye.